So picture this. You're at a really loud, packed dinner party.
Oh, yeah, I know the kind. Glasses clinking, everyone talking over each other.
Exactly. The ambient noise is super high, and the conversation across the table is just flying at lightning speed.
Right.
And the thing is, you understand every single word. The native speakers are bouncing ideas back and forth, they're, laughing, and then someone looks directly at you after making a brilliant point.
And it is your turn to chime in.
Right. But instead of naturally weaving into the flow of the conversation, you freeze. Panic totally sets in.
It's the worst feeling.
It is. So you end up just nodding aggressively and blurting out this loud, slightly awkward, "Me too."
Which, usually gets a polite smile.
Yeah, polite smile, the conversation moves on, and you were just left sitting there knowing it didn't sound quite right.
Yeah.
Like it was safe, but it was a dead giveaway that you were translating in your head.
Yeah, it really is the ultimate survival tactic for the busy adult learner. And, it happens because your brain is already running this massive background program just to comprehend the second language.
Right, you're using up all your RAM just listening.
Exactly.
Yep.
So when that spotlight suddenly swings to you, you don't want to spend precious mental energy constructing this grammatically flawless 10-word sentence just to say you share their opinion.
Nobody has time for that.
No. So you grab the path of least resistance, you say, "Me too." It requires zero processing power.
Okay, well, let's unpack this, because our deep dive today into these source materials is it's all about dismantling that exact survival tactic.
We really need to retire it.
We do. We're going to unlock the structural framework that native English speakers actually use to agree and disagree. It's a total game changer for conversational fluency.
It really is. It instantly makes you sound more native.
But before we get into the actual mechanics of that, I kind of want to push back here for a second.
Okay, sure.
Put yourself in the shoes of a busy professional who, honestly, just wants to communicate. In a loud room, isn't a phrase like "me too" actually better? Because it's universally understood.
I see where you're going.
Like, it's almost impossible to mishear. Doesn't trying to calculate some advanced grammatical response on the fly just, increase your chances of completely freezing up?
Well, that's a very fair challenge. And I'd say if your only goal is basic data transfer, like just getting a simple yes or no across, then yeah, "me too" works perfectly fine.
Right.
But conversational fluency isn't just about data transfer. It's about rhythm. It's about belonging and connection.
Well, I like that rhythm.
Yeah. When you rely exclusively on "me too" or "yes, me also," you unwittingly create this tiny bit of social friction.
Interesting.
You sort of step out of the rhythm of the native speaker. So while it takes some initial cognitive effort to learn the natural framework, it pays massive dividends because it eliminates that friction.
So you stop sounding like an observer and start sounding like a participant.
Exactly. You join the dance.
Okay, so what does this all mean for the actual mechanics of our sentences? Because to ditch "me too," enjoying that rhythm, we have to look at the hidden engine that powers almost all natural English responses.
Phew.
We have to talk about auxiliary verbs.
Auxiliary verbs are the absolute core of conversational flow in English. You really cannot achieve that snappy, effortless rhythm without them.
Okay, so I always try to visualize these things to make them stick for our listeners. When I hear auxiliary, I usually think of like a backup generator.
Right, an auxiliary power unit.
Yeah, but looking at how these operate in a sentence based on our sources, it feels like we need a different analogy. So I'm thinking, are these auxiliary verbs essentially like grammatical stunt doubles?
Stunt doubles.
Yeah, like do they just step in to take the hit so the main verb doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting?
Oh, I love that analogy. Yes, in traditional grammar, we call them helper verbs. So we're talking about words like do, does, did, am, is, are, was, can, could, have, has, and had.
It's a lot of stunt doubles.
It is, but they all serve the same purpose. In natural English conversation, the golden rule of agreeing or disagreeing is that we never repeat the main verb.
Never repeat it.
Right. If the original speaker used a main verb, you don't need to do the heavy lifting again. You just point to their stunt double. You only use the auxiliary verb from their original statement.
Okay, let me make sure I've got this straight. If the person across the dinner table says, "I can sing well," I wouldn't reply with, "I can sing well too."
No, definitely not.
I just grab their stunt double, the word "can."
You've got it. Because repeating the main verb, it sounds robotic and just really heavy. You just extract the helper verb.
Boy, here's where it gets really interesting and honestly a little bit weird. Because English has a massive quirk here.
It always does.
What happens when there is no stunt double visible? Like, what happens if the original statement simply doesn't have an auxiliary verb at all? For
Yeah.
instance, someone says, I went to the beach. The word went is doing all the heavy lifting completely alone. There's no am or can or have in that sentence.
Right, and this is where we have to look at a really fascinating concept called do support.
Use support.
Yeah. In a lot of other languages, if you want to agree, disagree, or ask a question, you just manipulate the main verb directly.
Right, you conjugate it differently or move it around.
Exactly. But English doesn't like to do that. When English finds itself in a situation where it needs an auxiliary verb but doesn't actually have one, it simply summons one out of thin air.
Like magic.
Pretty much. It uses the verb to do as this sort of grammatical dummy to carry the tense.
Grammatical dummy, so it just steps in to take the hit. It really is a stunt double for the main verb.
A structural stunt double. I think that's a great synthesis. So the fallback rule, and this is critical for our adult learners, is this. If you are listening to someone speak and their sentence has no auxiliary verb, your default stunt doubles are always going to be do, does, or did.
Okay, do, does, or did.
Right. Since the sentence I went to the beach is in the past tense, you summon the past tense default, which is did.
Okay, this is really clicking for me now. If someone says, I like pizza, the verb is like.
Yep.
It's the present tense. There is no helper verb. So the stunt double we summon out of thin air is do.
Exactly.
You know, once you realize that native speakers are just bouncing these tiny stunt doubles back and forth, the whole language starts to look a lot less intimidating.
You really
Like, we aren't exchanging massive paragraphs. We're just playing catch with these little helper verbs.
Which brings us to the actual mechanics of playing catch, right? Because knowing the theory is wonderful, but when you are in the middle of a loud networking event,
You don't have time to draw a linguistic diagram on a napkin.
exactly, you need a reflex. You don't have time to think.
Right. We need reliable formulas that we can deploy on the fly without the panic.
And there are two incredibly simple formulas for agreement. Let's start with positive statements.
Okay.
If someone makes a positive statement and you want to agree, the formula is, so plus the auxiliary verb plus I.
Okay, let's put this into practice right now. Let's go back to that noisy dinner party. The guy across from me says, I love jazz music.
Okay, so you run the formula.
Right. The verb is love. There's no helper. It's present tense.
Oh.
So the default stunt double is do.
Yeah.
The formula is so plus the stunt double do plus I, so do I.
Perfect. It becomes a reflex. Imagine the conversation continues. Someone else says, I am exhausted from work.
The original auxiliary is am. So the response is naturally, so am I.
Exactly. Another person chimes in. My team can finish the project by Friday.
The helper verb is can. So I'd just say, so can I.
They have already left for the airport.
So have I.
And let's circle back to our tricky past tense scenario without a helper. Someone says, we went to the beach yesterday.
Okay, past tense, no helper, so we summon did. So did I.
You've got it. It's so efficient. What's fascinating here is how this economical structure maintains the momentum of the conversation.
Yeah, saying I also went to the beach yesterday totally drags the tempo.
It really does. But so did I keeps the energy high. Now, let's look at the second formula for when someone makes a negative statement.
Okay.
The structure shifts just slightly. It becomes neither plus the auxiliary verb plus I.
Neither, which we should probably clarify for our listeners just means also not.
Right. It is literally the negative equivalent of so. So if someone at our dinner party says, I don't like horror movies, the auxiliary there is do.
Right, because don't is just a contraction of do not. So we extract the do, neither do I.
Perfect. He isn't ready for the presentation.
Neither am I. And actually, notice the pronoun adjustment there. The original speaker was talking about he, but I am talking about myself. He isn't ready, neither am I.
That's a great catch. How about this? I can't swim in the ocean.
Neither can I.
We didn't sleep well on that flight.
Neither did I. I mean, the consistency is really reassuring once you get the hang of it.
It is very reliable.
But I want to pause here for a second because we are making this sound very neat and tidy, like almost mathematical.
Yeah. And English is never perfectly mathematical.
Right. Languages are messy.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the word have, because based on our source materials, this seems like a massive trap for a language learner.
No, it is a huge trap.
Sometimes have is a main action verb, like possessing an object. And sometimes it's the structural beam, the helper verb. If I'm in a fast-paced environment, how on earth do I spot the difference quickly without panicking?
This is one of the most frequent errors that adult learners make, and you're so right to highlight it. The word have plays both roles, which causes instant cognitive gridlock.
Exactly.
If someone says, I have a dog, we have to ask what the verb is actually doing.
It's the main action, right? It means possession. I own a dog. There are no other verbs around it.
Exactly. Therefore, following our rule of do support, if there is no auxiliary helper visible, what do we summon?
The stunt double. We use do. So if someone says, I have a dog, my reflex must be, so do I.
Right.
Because if I say, so have I, it sounds like, I don't know, archaic English or just a grammatical mistake.
Right. So has I, in that context, sounds very strange. But
Yeah.
if that same person says, I've seen that movie, or I have seen that movie. Now, seen is the main action.
Oh, I see.
Have is merely the structural beam setting up the present perfect tense.
Ah, so in that case, have actually is the helper. So the response is, so have I.
Yes, precisely.
But that still leaves the problem of real-time processing. I mean, by the time they finish their whole sentence, I might have forgotten how it even started.
And that raises a really important point about how we listen. To achieve quick fluency, you must train your ear to listen for the very first part of the speaker's verb phrase.
Just the beginning.
Yes. Do not wait for the period at the end of their sentence. If they start with, I, you already know have is denoting possession. Get your do ready.
Right.
But if they start with the contraction I've or I have seen, you immediately know have is the helper. Get your have ready.
Wow, that is an incredibly practical tip. It completely shifts the focus from translating the whole thought to just anticipating the grammatical structure right out of the gate.
It saves so much mental energy.
Okay, so we have built this great reflex for agreeing. We are an agreeable bunch now.
Very agreeable.
But there is a danger here, right? If you only ever agree with people, you just become a conversational wallflower.
That's true.
Conversations aren't just echo chambers. What if the person next to you says, I didn't like that movie at all, and you actually loved it?
Right.
How do you use this exact same framework to stand your ground without sounding awkward or like starting a fight? Because a lot of learners try to construct a whole new opposing thesis statement, which just creates friction.
Yes, often that effort to construct a full, formal sentence of disagreement makes the interaction feel incredibly heavy and needlessly confrontational.
Like you're in a debate.
Exactly. When you say, actually, I disagree, I enjoyed the film very much, it just halts the casual rhythm entirely.
I sort of see disagreeing in English as a conversational tennis volley.
A tennis volley.
Yeah, like you don't need to catch the ball, hold it, examine it, and then throw a brand new ball back over the net.
Yeah.
You just let it bounce, use their momentum, and hit the same ball back with the opposite spin.
Oh, I love that. A tennis volley is the perfect way to look at it. You don't hold the ball. To disagree naturally, you simply use the opposite auxiliary verb followed by the subject.
Just the opposite spin.
It is wildly simple. If their statement is positive, your response is negative. If their statement is negative, your response is positive.
Surf and a volley. Opposite spin. Okay, let's try it. Imagine we're coworkers at the office. You say, I like the new software update.
Okay, so your brain registers the verb like. No helper, so default is do. Opposite spin makes it negative, so you just say, I don't.
I don't. And notice the brevity there. I didn't say, I don't like it. I just said, I don't. Less is always more here, right?
That is a critical error to avoid. Do not add the main verb back in. It kills the momentum. Let's try another positive statement. Your colleague says, I can work late tonight.
I can't.
I've finished the report.
I haven't. It really is just dropping the opposite helper verb over the net. Okay, let's flip it. Give me some negative statements.
All right. Your friend says, I don't drink coffee.
Opposite spin. I do. Meaning, I do drink coffee.
I'm not going to the party.
I am.
I didn't understand the meeting.
I did.
Yeah.
Wow. When we isolate it like that, it's remarkably crisp, isn't it?
Very crisp.
Like, I didn't understand the meeting. I did. You aren't stumbling over a clunky phrase trying to soften the blow. You just hit the helper verb back.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this specific brevity is the engine of native conversational rhythm. It allows disagreements to be quick, light, and perfectly understood without bogging down the social interaction.
Okay, so we have the theory, we have the formulas, and we have the volley. But knowing the right words on a page is really only half the battle, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
To truly achieve that practical fluency we're aiming for today, we have to talk about the delivery. How do these tiny words actually sound when they leave your mouth?
This is where it all comes together.
Because if you get the grammar perfectly right, but the delivery is totally flat, you will still sound unsure of yourself.
Exactly. The physical mechanics of stress and intonation are what ultimately sell this framework. The difference between sounding like a nervous student and a confident participant lies entirely in the acoustics.
The acoustics. So what do we do?
Well, to sound natural, you must place heavy vocal stress on the auxiliary verb itself.
Meaning you put your entire vocal weight right onto that stunt double.
Yes, and your intonation, the actual musical pitch of your voice, should fall on that stressed word.
It shouldn't go up.
Right, it shouldn't rise up at the end like you were asking a question or seeking approval. It needs to land solidly. Listen to the physical feeling of these different responses.
Yeah.
If I want to offer a warm, friendly agreement to a colleague who says, I need a vacation, I say, so do I.
So do I. Wow, you really hit the do and let your pitch drop.
Yeah. Now, what about sympathetic agreement? A friend confides in you, I can't sleep lately. You reply, neither can I.
Neither can I. The weight and the empathy are entirely resting on the word can.
Exactly. And for a polite but firm disagreement, someone assumes, you like cold weather, right? You say, I don't.
I don't. Practicing these aloud, the auditory difference is striking. It completely removes that tentative, questioning tone that learners accidentally default to when they're afraid of making a mistake.
It grounds you.
You sound rooted in the conversation. So for you, the listener, navigating this transition, I want to offer a quick visual memorization trick.
Oh, I love visual tricks.
When you are writing these formulas down in your notebook, or even just visualizing them in your head, physically write the auxiliary verb in all cap yes. Write so do I. Write neither can I.
That is brilliant. By linking the visual weight of that capitalized word to the auditory weight of the spoken stress, you are building a much stronger neural pathway.
Right.
When you visualize the bold word, it acts as a trigger to naturally force your vocal intonation down.
So what does this all mean for your next social interaction? Let's briefly recap the journey we just took.
We covered a lot.
We did. We identified the core problem. That clunky, amateur-sounding Me Too that leaves you feeling like an outsider translating in real time, we officially retired it.
Good riddance.
And we unpacked the strange linguistic necessity of do support and learned to spot our grammatical stunt doubles, those crucial auxiliary helper verbs.
We locked in the so and neither formulas for agreement.
Right, the reflexes.
And we simplified our disagreements into a quick, frictionless tennis volley using the opposite auxiliary.
And finally, we polished the entire framework with native-sounding falling intonation, putting the heavy physical stress right on that helper verb.
It really changes everything.
It does. For a busy adult learner juggling work, life, and just the exhaustion of language acquisition, this is arguably the highest ROI language hack you can master. I mean, you didn't memorize 500 new vocabulary words today. You just learned to manipulate the hidden structural beams of the English sentence. But the return on that small investment is massive confidence in your daily life. You won't be dreading the moment you have to chime in anymore.
Because knowledge is most valuable when it shifts your everyday reality. This isn't abstract grammar you leave in a textbook. This is the literal rhythm of human connection.
And speaking of human connection, I want to leave you with a final thought to explore on your own.
Okay.
Next time you are out at a bustling coffee shop or, walking through a crowded airport terminal, and you are eavesdropping on a fast-paced conversation between native English speakers, change the way you listen.
Shift your focus.
Yeah. Don't listen to their big, flashy vocabulary words. Don't focus on the nouns and the main action verbs. Pay close attention to the tiny spaces between their ideas.
The handoffs.
Listen to the handoffs. How much of their actual human connection is just a rapid-fire dance of these tiny auxiliary verbs bouncing back and forth? The so do I's, the neither can I's, I don't, I'm eight dids. It is the invisible glue holding the whole relationship together. Keep listening to those spaces, and soon enough, you'll be dancing right along with them.